have that feeling where it just feels like something doesn't feel right, or whatever it is, something that just feels slightly off, that you don't know what it is. You just know something isn't right. That's what I want to talk about today, because I can just about bet that it's more than you think, or you probably have no idea what's really going on. And the thing is, you're not falling apart. What it is there's a shift going on. And it's not a thought. This is more than a thought. It's a felt sense. You just feel it in your bones. And that's why you can't even explain it. It just feels different. And what's happening is your energy drops or it flattens. It's kind of like I say, it's a flat line. It just, right? And that's what's happening with your energy. You have to fight to even have any energy. And your emotional intensity, that lowers too. Your tolerance for dealing with others and even dealing with your own emotion changes, and your engagement changes because your emotions change. Your ability to deal with other people's emotions, and with all that going on, your cognitive speed slows down. Your thought, your knowledge, your wisdom is not where it used to be. It's not as sharp as it used to be. And that scares you. It would scare me. So, these things that I just talked about, have you ever experienced those? And if you do, just raise your hand to yourself, whatever. But I want you to know what's going on, what's actually happening. And one of the things you find yourself doing is you're still functioning. You're just like in reduced gear, because that energy and that emotional bandwidth, with can't even talk, emotional bandwidth is needed somewhere else. So, hi, I'm Michelle O'Neill, and you are on Break Time Live. And I am so glad that you're here with me today, because I hear this a lot. I hear when I talk to different women, and you ask that question, "How are you feeling?" or "What's going on?" And I hear, "I don't know. I just feel blah," or "I just feel off." And this is so unsettling, because we, as high performing women, are so used to having clarity and to having momentum and always being on top of things, right? So that off feeling, that not right feeling, doesn't fit in our self-image. That's not who we are. That's not how we show up in the world. And so it scares us, because we can't explain it. There's no words. There's nothing that you can put your finger on. And so a lot of times what we do is we just dismiss it. It's like, whatever, I'll get over it. And so you keep pushing forward instead of actually listening to what your body's internal radar is saying to you. I mean, it's a beacon. Hello, hey, pay attention to me. And so you automatically assume, because you can't explain it, because you have no name for it, something's got to be wrong. Something's wrong with me. And this is usually when you do what you've always done. And like I said, you just keep pushing, and you hope above all things that it'll just settle and it'll click back in space. Because why? It's done it before, it's done it so many times before. And you just hope that it clicks into something that somehow you can recognize what's going on. And when something doesn't feel right, there's a reason that you keep going instead of slowing down, and instead of listening to what your body is telling you. Because our default is is to do what has already always worked, right? If it's worked before, it'll work again. If you did it before, you can do it again, right? And so you're used to momentum. You're used to pushing through to actually fix it because in the past, pushing did make it pass. But that doesn't always happen. And slowing down feels, well, it feels unproductive because you're a very productive person. You're always on it. And being unproductive is indulgent. It's self-indulgent. And you assume that rest, when we rest, I can rest when I finish. I can rest when something's complete. So rest becomes a reward to you, not the tool, not the thing to give you. Do you know how important rest is? It's the thing that allows your body to repair, your brain cells to repair. And so it's a tool that we use. It's not a reward. We need it. And you trust that action, doing stuff, more than that sensation that something's not quite right. So pushing, that's your way of getting back online. You keep your routine hoping that somehow this will click and it'll fix itself. You do the next thing and then the next, and then whatever else needs to be done. And you tell yourself, I'll feel better once this is done, right? But we know that fallacy that everything is never done. And this feeling, although it may be done once, will come back because your body is talking to you and you're refusing to listen. You don't stop because it feels risky. And what I mean by risky is what it's doing is it makes you feel uncertain because you can't name what it is. You can't put your finger on it. You can't give a word to whatever is going on. And it just is. And just is doesn't fit in your vocabulary of life. So you're waiting and waiting for that light to switch back on. But what actually happens is different than you think. Your system, like I said, has already downshifted. Your energy is being conserved, right? It's not lost. It's just being conserved because you need it somewhere else and you just haven't figured that out yet. But your body knows, and your emotional intensity is turned down because your ability to keep dealing with it right now isn't at par. Cognitive speed slows down because you need my favorite word, that space. And we're going to talk more about that. What's going on? Here's the big word, is you're being regulated. And this is where a lot of misunderstanding starts because you think something is wrong and it's not. You think it's wrong when your system is actually what it's doing is trying to help you. It's trying to regulate you. Remember that word. Pushing through this feeling instead of listening to it can cost you dearly. And that cost is very subtle. It's not just all of a sudden this happened. It's cumulative. Cumulative. Oh, I can't even say it. Cumulative. You stay functional, but less present. Have you ever noticed those times when you're doing the things you should do with your kids, with your husband, at your job, but your heart, this is what we say, my heart's just not in it anymore. You're right. It's not because you're no longer there. You're doing things without feeling them, not the way you used to. And joy, it doesn't disappear, but it does dull. I'm not saying you don't feel joy, but it dulls and you're there, but not fully with anyone. All those people I just named, your family, your kids, your husband, your parents, your cousins, the people at work, your coworkers, your boss, you're not fully there. And life starts to feel like just something that you have to get through. But it's so much more that you didn't lose your ability to understand. What it is you lost access to that wisdom and understanding. You can still sense when something's off and not right, but you just don't have the space, back to my word, that space to listen. Urgency fills that gap because that's the only way that you know how to function. That's the only way that you know how to push through, is that urgency to keep doing something, to make something happen. But your inner signals that are screaming at you, they get drowned out because you don't know how to process them. Nothing's wrong with you. You're crowded. Back to my word, space. This is why it feels so unsettling. Nothing is obviously wrong, and you're still responsible. You're still able to function and go through and do the things that you need to do, but something essentially isn't reaching you. And that's what scares you. And you can't fix what you can't feel. If you're pushing through, if you're ignoring it, how can you fix it? Because you don't know what it is. And this is usually the moment that we start wondering if this is just how life is, if this is what life is going to be like now, I'm just going to get through. I'm just going to go through without feeling the joy that I used to feel, without feeling the excitement, without feeling that connection. Is there another way to live inside of it? If this off feeling is your system asking for space, what happens when you finally give it time? Space. I want you to get this because it took me a while. Space isn't a vacation, it's an interruption. Not time away, but a pause inside your day. We don't all have time for vacations. We don't all have a day that we can get away. We don't even all have 2 to 3 hours that we can stop our day and do what we need to do. So when I say space, I'm talking about taking the time to interrupt the pattern that's going on in your life right now and to take the time to listen. It's a moment where nothing is required of you. Absolutely nothing. It's no fixing, no deciding, no responding, just room to breathe. And I'm not talking about breathing exercises, not saying they don't work, but that's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is room to breathe and to notice, to be aware. Space before action. Did you get that? It requires space before action, not after exhaustion. Guilt softens when you're not focusing on yourself forward. Does that make sense? When you're concentrating on the next step and the next, that guilt stays strong because you know that your focus and your function isn't where it needs to be. But that guilt softens when you're not forcing your thoughts forward. You start reacting just to get things done. You feel steadier because you feel clear. And when I say you stop reacting just to get things done, what I'm talking about is you're getting things done because they need to be done, or you've chosen them to be done. Decisions don't feel urgent anymore. And you remember that you're allowed to take space too. And it becomes addictive. Once you understand that pattern of interruption, the ability to create space, the ability to take the time, even if it's 5 seconds, it becomes something that you seek at high times in your day. Learning how to interrupt that rush, creating space without everything falling apart. What does that feel like to you? I mean, if you think about it, if you, in the middle of something popping off in your life, you could just step back for 5 seconds and create space, regardless of everything circling around you, regardless of everything that's happening. All of a sudden, it's like you're in this void, in this bubble for 5 seconds to create that space so that you can think and you can practice steadiness before making a decision. Wouldn't you love that? Letting your system come back online is what you're doing. It's like being in front of your computer and for the last 10 minutes you've been clicking tab after tab and forcing it to do action and after action and action, and it freezes on you. And so what you do is you take your hand off the mouse and you just stop. And you say, I'm going to give it a second. I'm going to give it a second to come back online, to think. That's what needs to happen here. It's amazing. It's not about fixing your life. It's about changing how you move inside of it. And that is so important. Is that something you think would benefit you? Is that something that you know would help you? This week, can't let you go without this. This week, I want you to try it once. Before you answer, before you decide, or before you agree on something, even small, you can start with something small or even try it with something major. But I just want you to try it once. And I want you to pause. I want you to stop and take a breath and give yourself space first. And sometimes it looks like you removing yourself from that situation so you can change your environment just for a few seconds. It could even be the bathroom. Take a breath and then notice what feels different. What happened? What shifted for me? That's what's important. You don't have to push to feel better. Sometimes the most responsible thing you can do is to take that pause. It has been my joy and honor to spend this time with you and share something that I believe, I know can change your life. Until next time, I'm Mischelle O'Neill, and this is Break Time Live. I hope this was a break that you'll come back to. Until next time. And let me know this week if you do it. Take care. Bye bye.